Welcome to the ex officio and partner agencies roundtable. For those of you who haven't met me, I'm Molly Dishner. I'm AMA's new communications manager, and I don't think that Jason can join us today, so I will be moderating in his absence. Thanks to everyone who could join. I know a lot of folks are traveling and busy with events this week, so we'll try and get to all the updates and let folks go back to whatever they're doing. Like usual, please stay muted for our speakers. Everyone has probably about 5 to 7 minutes to present. We do have a little bit shorter of a list this week, so we'll have a little bit of time for questions if there are any. And I'll just kind of ask folks to wrap up and move on if needed. And feel free, type questions in the chat and I can help read them or raise your hand in some form. With that, I guess we can just maybe go ahead and get started. Oh, I see a question. Charlie, go ahead.
Hi, Molly. Thanks for having this. I was wondering if I could present on the early side of things. I have to jump to a conference event, but I can present for the next 10 minutes or so. I can be around.
Sure. Why don't you go ahead and get us started then? That'd be great.
All right. Thank you. New in the Alaska, I'm Charlie Harrington. I'm with Southeast Conference and the Alaska Mariculture Cluster. And I'll be brief. I suppose the main updates are that the third round of the Mariculture Equipment Program, which is eligible for nonprofits and tribal organizations to apply for, has like 4 weeks left. It ends in mid-November. We're excited to see what proposals we get there. Also, the Alaska Fisheries Development Foundation issued an RFP through our research and development grant component. It's round 3 of the Joint Innovations Program. And those proposals are to be focused specifically on product development for mariculture product development. Awards, they have a few $100,000 in underspending from the first 2 rounds of the Joint Innovation Program. And so they're issuing it out through this third round. Projects will be capped at $50,000. We're really excited because everyone in the mariculture world wants to see more investment in product development. So that'll be a good program. The revolving loan fund is active. Currently, Spruce Root is the lending partner we have. They are in Southeast, but they can initiate loans statewide. So the person to contact there is Michael Ching. If you go to our website and go under grant components, revolving loan fund, you'll find information there. And I'm told that we are close to finalizing an agreement with North Rim Bank. And I think that, and we're also having exciting developments in our marketing program. We're working closely with Tastemaker Communications and Rising Tide. And there's news on our website if you want to read more about a recent familiarization event for shellfish and oyster farmers in Alaska. Thank you. I see a question from Caitlin about the carbon sequestration. I'm sorry, I can't remember them offhand, but we are going to make an announce those projects on Monday.
Awesome. Thanks, Charlie. Any other questions for SEC AMC stuff before Charlie takes off? All right, I don't see any. Just going down my list, Michelle, would you like to present next and introduce your new team member?
Yeah, hi, I'm Michelle Morris with ADF&G in the aquaculture section. We have Heather Fulton Bennett with us. She's our new hire joining our section. She's going to be helping out me and Lorna Wilson with aquaculture and ARPs and whatnot. So we're super excited to have her on board. So I'll give her a chance to introduce herself, and then Lorna is not able to join us today, but she is currently working on the first shellfish fisheries enhancement P&P project. So we're on our way.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. Nice to meet those of you I haven't met already. I'm joining ADF&G from NOAA, where I worked at Little Port Walter on a range of aquaculture and salmon projects. So I will be split between Michelle and Lorna in terms of helping out with both P&P hatcheries and the aquaculture projects with the section. So yeah, nice to meet you all.
All right, thanks, Fish and Game. And Michelle, was there anything else you wanted to add?
Nope, that's it.
Awesome. Maybe sticking with our state agencies. Carol, do you want to go now for DEC?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Carol Brady. I'm the Shellfish Program Coordinator with the Food Safety and Sanitation Program in DEC. The updates I had to share are on the laboratory side. So the Environmental Health Lab is continuing to work on the RBA method, or the receptor binding assay method validation. And we are looking at getting the equipment set up for DST testing, or diuretic shellfish toxin. That's continuing to be in progress before we can start doing the surveillance testing for that toxin. At this time, the only required biotoxin that is required to be tested before commercial shellfish can be released into product is PST, or paralytic shellfish poisoning, at this time. And those are the updates I have for DEC. Thanks, Molly.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I don't want to move too quickly. Did anyone have questions for Carol and DEC before I ask another speaker to present? All right, I don't see any. How about Jessica McKay? Do you want to share your research next? I know you're tuning in a little different than usual.
Yeah, so nice to meet everyone. I've met some of you either through the Mariculture conference or through collaborations. I am here. Tommy Sheridan asked me to jump in on this meeting to kind of share an update from some of the work that I do through UAF. So I'm a graduate student at the Automated Construction and Advanced Materials Lab. And one of the major things that we're trying to do here is incorporate the byproducts of the mariculture industry into building materials. Specifically, what my master's degree is focusing in on is using kelp byproducts for the incorporation into concrete as different modifying agents. I'm super excited about this, and I really I'm happy to engage with any of you. We recently submitted a proposal to USDA. I think some of you were on support letters to be able to develop this out in collaboration with XHAB and Penn State, and then focusing our product around being able to develop different infrastructure for the mariculture industry, utilizing 3D printing with kelp as an additive to the concrete. So I think I'll take a minute to kind of explain a little bit about ACAM and what ACAM is doing here at UAF, and then I'll kind of explain a little bit of my background and kind of what where I'm coming from. And so the Automated Construction and Advanced Materials Lab here at UAF was developed by Dr. Nima Farzadnia, who is an expert in alternative concretes. So looking at cementitious composite materials based on waste products such as the fly ash that comes from the coal-fired power plant here. And so this is to be able to utilize from a standpoint of soil stabilization all the way up through precast or 3D printed concrete replacements. A big portion of what I'm doing is kind of helping to develop out the bio-based solutions. So that's where the kelp comes in. Another thing that I'm looking at through my master's degree is utilizing glacial rock flour and other local sediments to replace Portland cement. So I'm really excited about a lot of the different things that are going on here. Please feel free to ask questions at any point. You can also email me or contact me another way. I'll put my contact information in the chat. And so kind of where I came into this, and I think is relevant to the Alaska Mariculture Cluster, as I grew up throughout the state of Alaska and ultimately got my engineering degree and came up here to work as a construction project manager. I've worked for the city of Valdez as well as the Valdez Fisheries Development Association, so I'm pretty closely and intimately tied to the aquaculture industry in Prince William Sound, and also the infrastructure of Valdez, and looking at different economic development opportunities outside of oil and reliance so much on fishing. And so I have a lot of passion coming from a lot of different areas, and one of the main outcomes that I would like to see, that I know that there is a lot of opportunity for, because it's not novel like this cementitious composite material that I'm developing, is looking at building materials for Alaska based out of mariculture products. So there are currently tiles, bricks, insulation. I don't know if you've ever tried to light kelp on fire, but it's very difficult, which is wonderful as far as a fire resistant. They actually make a drywall replacement out of seaweed. And so there's a lot of different opportunities for that. I do work part-time for the Cold Climate Housing Research Center, so I'm really into the building materials side of things. And so that's kind of just an overview of who I am and where I'm coming from. Questions? Okay, well, if anybody wants to talk offline at any point, like I said, oh, yes.
I can't find the button to do this. Are you going to have any of these products available? Like are they in a test phase yet, or is that like coming up at some point where people could see what that looks like? That would be so cool.
So we do have things going on at the Automated Construction and Advanced Materials Lab. So if you're ever in Fairbanks, you can reach out to us. We're happy to kind of show you what's going on there. As far as the other building products, I can give you resources for those, but there is no, like, I have the conceptuals. I have kind of a process for how these different things would work and be developed, but I am a single human being, and this is, there are many different ways that we can approach this. So again, this is where it's kind of if somebody wants to talk to me and is serious about trying to develop out a product, I have a background in process engineering before coming here as a construction project manager, and I can really facilitate, what that path would look like to developing that product, without it necessarily being a novel concrete, but other building products that I think have a lot of opportunity up here, and, and a lot of farther reaching than just Alaska as well.
Looks
Evie.
like
Hi, Jessica. I think you've really just answered my question, but I'll kind of rephrase it just for confirmation. So it sounds like I know that you're really at the kind of the benchtop scale and process right now. And so you that you don't have any like active work going on with someone who is in kind of broader product development or bringing something to market at this point? Or do you know of that happening anywhere in the state?
Not in Alaska. I think this is actually one of the big gaps in Alaska, and something that I work actively on through the Cold Climate Housing Research Center, and something that I see as like I said, there's a huge gap, is that we import the vast majority of our materials. It's not that we necessarily need to, but Alaska really does need the development of the manufacturing side of things. And I have a lot of, ideas on how to do that, even without having to innovate so much, because a lot of these products are available globally. It's just a matter of, getting a team together and working through the process of actually starting the product up.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'll just put out there for the whole group that, I think especially, there are several of us, several biostimulant projects going on now through the Mariculture Cluster. And, one of the things that we end up with is a lot of kelp biomass, pressed, dewatered kelp biomass at the end of the day. And I'll just put out there, I'm not afraid to tell people it's keeping me awake at night to think about where that's going to go. And it's such a great resource that kind of getting that flywheel going of having some manufacturing going on with it would be, it's a gap we need to fill. So I really appreciate the work you're doing. Thanks.
I'll ask one, Jessica, if that's okay before we move on. I know it's early in your research and maybe you can't say entirely, but are you seeing any efficiencies or advantages to use working kelp into the concrete?
I'm so glad you asked. So, I have been thinking about putting seaweed in concrete since I started working for the hatchery. And so I have always felt a little bit like, oh, I must be really strange or something because can you actually like utilize this in concrete? And then I started talking with Dr. Nima last year, and he was like, no, that's actually a really great idea. And so through my literature review, I have seen a couple of different approaches that people, particularly in Southeast Asia, have done. So they've been utilizing dried seaweed as a sand aggregate replacement. There's also opportunities as a Portland cement, a partial Portland cement replacement. And so those, like, bottom line aren't even novel at this point. It's just we can use kelp in these ways. And then a lot of what I'm trying to do is kind of go a little deeper and say, great, so are there alginates or other things that we can take from, again, the byproducts is specifically what I'm looking at. Trying to utilize the waste stream of the mariculture to be able to, so in 3D printing, you need a lot more viscosity in the bead of concrete that's coming out. And so being able to use that to make a more effective concrete. And so that's kind of a lot of the research that I'm diving into is some of these other ways to use kelp. Did that answer your question?
Absolutely. Thank you. Maybe just one last question. What's the best way for folks to reach out if they want to talk further? Do you want to put your
Yes,
email in the chat?
I am going to do that. I'll put my email and I'll also put my phone number. So either way is fine.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry,
Oh,
I had
and
a question,
Missy.
but I was struggling finding the button. Jessica, I don't know if you know about this, but a local construction company here in Kodiak actually incorporated wet kelp into their concrete. I think it was 2 years ago, and they were really impressed with how well it worked. They didn't use it for construction, of course, but like their Nick Mangidi had some, and they're like, "Yeah, sure, let's try it." So I don't know if you have connections or companies that you're working with in Alaska, but if you are interested in getting more connections.
I would love to connect. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, okay. I'll help with that.
Thank you.
Awesome. And if there aren't more questions for Jessica, we might just go right to Sea Grant since Missy is here.
Sure. Yeah, we've been pretty busy this fall with hosting workshops. If anyone wants to know about those, feel free to ask, but I didn't want to dive into them. A recent publication that we helped out with is a seaweed food safety guide, and I'm going to go ahead and put the link to that PDF here. That was led by New York Sea Grant, and we are one of the reviewers on that. So recent publication. A couple other manuals that we have in the progress. We have a fellow who's working on an oyster farming manual. She has completed her chapters and the internal reviews, and those chapters are now going out for external reviews. We plan on having printed copies of that available at the Mariculture Conference, so that's in the works and is coming out. Also, Sherry Manzer is working on a pinto abalone manual as well, and I'm not sure on the timeline of that, but once that is available, we'll help get that word out. Right now, we have a Farmer Knowledge Exchange grant program that is currently active. Give me 1 second. I'll put a link for that in the chat as well. So that's $3,500 per year to a nursery hatchery operator, a farmer, or a processor. Part of that stipulation is on that knowledge exchange, they do need to reach out to a host, wherever they're going, and then we can provide those travel fundings to get them there. It does have to be domestic travel, so no international travel is allowed with that grant. We have a harmful algal bloom workshop coming up focused on current and potential shellfish farmers. That's going to be in Kodiak, November 15th. We are participating in Aquaculture America in February 16th through 19th. We'll be hosting a seaweed session. If anyone is interested in putting in abstracts for that, that is open until October 31st. They extended the deadline. And if you want to be in the seaweed session, be with us, just hit on the macroalgae topics. The Mariculture Conference of Alaska is March 10th through 12th. We're really deep into the planning on that. We received 95 abstracts, so a lot of abstracts, more than what we've received in the past. So this is going to be a really good one, I think. So we are currently reviewing abstracts and hoping to get notices out to folks here in a few weeks. There's a little bit of information that's been coming out, but just a heads up for folks, on March 9th, Alicia Bishop is leading an AOA workshop. Given the shutdown, she hasn't been able to continue to advertise for that, but that will be happening. We also plan on offering Mariculture Scuba Open Water Certification here in Kodiak this spring. Expect for advertising for that to come out probably in about a month or so, but we do have that in the works. And we're going to be offering Mariculture Boot Camp for an internship program. So we are spinning up a larger internship program than what we've had in the past. So we'll be advertising where we'll connect someone that is interested in either working in a nursery or a hatchery, or on a farm or in a processing facility. So we'll be soliciting for hosts who want interns and for folks who want an internship. These are going to be paid internships up to 8 weeks long. So those will start in the spring. So we don't plan on advertising till early into the new year. But that opportunity will be coming up, and we'll be offering a boot camp to get folks set up and ready to go off on these adventures and be living and working in a mariculture operation. So that's pretty exciting. We are also working with the Alaska Marine Safety Education Association to develop a mariculture marine safety curriculum. And we plan to start offering those trainings here probably in the summer. AMC is working on the curriculum development right now. We're helping to review those. We'll probably be soliciting for some farmers to review that as well, making sure they got all of the ins and outs of that. And for updates on anything that we have going on or anything that we hear about, you can always check in on the Alaska Mariculture Research and Training Center website. Please sign up for the listserv so you get the monthly email. And then we're on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So you could go there to check on educational opportunities, research opportunities coming up, or updates on projects that are happening. And other events. If you have an event, please reach out to myself or Jessica Whitney, and we're happy to share. And that's what I have. Any questions? All right, thanks.
Thanks so much, Missy. And then Jared, do you want to share your brief update?
Yeah, so I don't have much. I just wanted to say that we're still working on 2025 aquatic farm applications and rolling on those. We got adjudicators busy, and so don't have much to add other than that. Yep.
Thank you. And then Andriana and Garen, I think you guys are up.
Great, thanks. We actually have a little presentation. Should we share it, or would you rather we just speak?
You are welcome to share it.
Okay, let's see. Oops, give me just one moment. So as I am pulling this up, thank you very much for inviting me to speak. I am Andriana Natsoulis, and I am with the North American Marine Alliance. I'm actually calling in from New York State, so I am on the other side of the country, but I have spent quite a bit of time in Alaska, and Alaska is a place that's quite dear to my heart. So I hope you can see my screen. It looks like it might be, oh, there we go. Okay, so I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the Atlas for Values-Based Aquaculture. It is going to be an online digital platform that provides resources for different people within the aquaculture community. And it is going to be interactive, constantly being updated. And it's a really exciting project that we started in a year and a half ago. And so I am working with Garen Tar with the State Innovation Exchange, along with several other people in our core team, to develop this atlas. And we say values-based, which, people always perk up a little bit. Well, what do you mean exactly by values-based? There's a lot of different aquaculture out there. Some of it's more industrial and extractive, and some of it's more values-based. And in 2023, there was a visioning project that went out and spoke with a lot of different people within the aquaculture world to develop these values. So our values are secure food supply, safeguarding ecosystems, and really having aquaculture center the community so that it's not some faraway corporation that's leading the aquaculture operation. Open opportunities, so that allows for a lot of access, people from different backgrounds being able to engage in aquaculture opportunities. Worker protection, have it be a safe place and encouraging place to work. Honoring local knowledge and wrapping local knowledge into the operations, of course, respecting tribal rights and upholding accountability, so it's really transparent and accessible and fair. And so when I talk about, we reached out to, I actually was not part of that visioning project, it was independent researchers. But when we talk about reaching out to people and our audiences and having this atlas be interactive and usable from different sectors and for different sectors, who are our audiences? Who are we talking about? Well, we're talking about aquaculture farmers. We're talking about academics and researchers. We're talking about policymakers and government workers and government officials. We're talking about chefs and institutions and people who are buying wholesale. And we're talking about creatives, media, journalists, and of course, funders and investors who could put a lot of strength behind some of these efforts so that they can move to the next level. And so, what will this aquaculture atlas provide? What will it look like? We don't exactly know yet because we're still collecting information. And as I said, this atlas, this interactive digital hub platform, is really intended to serve our audiences. So we're currently still gathering information, and I will share in the chat once we're done our survey, which you're more than welcome, and I hope you do fill out. I'll also share our webpage and our visioning project that we have based these values upon to use as pillars. But we envision there to be policy guides, stories, research, science libraries. And one thing that's really unique about this atlas, and I really enjoyed being here today and hearing all the different projects, is that this is non-governmental. We're not dependent on federal funding. It also really intends to reach across the sectors and reach across the country. So for example, you have a policymaker in Massachusetts who has seen all the great work that has happened in Alaska, and they want to connect and they want to be able to have dialogue. And so the Atlas intends to be able to provide some of those networking opportunities. There may be a journalist in Washington, D.C., who wants to learn more about the oyster farming that serves the local communities in the Gulf of Mexico. Ideally, this atlas will be able to cross the different sectors, cross the country, and really be able to supply a comprehensive, holistic resource, just a whole flurry of resources for people to be able to move forward with values-based aquaculture. And I am going to now pass it on to Garen.
Hi there. Thank you so much for giving us a few minutes here to share about this project. And yeah, there's so many amazing things happening right now. It is such a dynamic space and there's so much opportunity. So I think what we're excited about is to try to provide a resource that can be trusted and valuable, because it's reliable and up to date. And a lot of the resources you shared today will probably be featured or included. So that's kind of the connection of all of it. Just briefly, if I haven't met you before, I'm Garen Tarr. I'm working with an organization called State Innovation Exchange, and we work to advance progressive policy. I work in the Food, Agriculture, and Rural Economies program, and previously was a legislator where I both served and chaired on the Fisheries Committee. So I love getting to do this science-based work, science-based policy work, and so that's kind of the area of focus that I'm having. And so just to bring this into a local context and think about some of the examples here of how we hope this resource can be used. We have long thought that finfish farming was prohibited in Alaska state waters. That's been a point of pride. In 1981, right, we formed ASME with the mission to market and promote wild Alaska seafood. And we've done that very effectively. We've branded that well. The key part of that is the wild Alaska seafood that has brought a lot of value to our Alaska seafood. But now, of course, if you'll go to the next slide, please, we know we have a legislative proposal to enable finfish farming in Alaska state waters. So it's a really dynamic space, right? We know that, right, once you think that something is set, right, a new legislative proposal could come along and, change the dynamic. So for example, using this as one of the examples that people might look to the Atlas for, it will include examples like the state of Washington, where they recently used administrative action to ban finfish farming. Examples like the state of California, where they have a ban on ocean finfish farming, right? So a comprehensive kind of toolkit on these different policy options. So as things come forward, people would have a resource to turn to and, see what some of the options are. If we can go to the next slide, it'll have ideas like this as well. There's been a change in the federal administration, and that this administration is very pro big development projects in terms of in ocean development projects, maybe larger than we're interested in from a values-based perspective. Here in the state of Massachusetts, they have spoke up about this, done a resolution. This may be something that we would want to consider in Alaska, looking at like federal proposals that might come forward. So it'll have both, options at the state level, administrative, it'll have ways to engage with the congressional delegation in your area, right? So just using this policy kind of lens into what the Atlas might provide. These are just a few of the examples. Thinking here at home, another big policy issue I remember working on in the legislature had to do with permits for mariculture projects and the issue of public notice. Of course, that's a really big deal. People would like to know what's happening in the community around them. And, there's been a big push to eliminate or limit public notice for a lot of development projects. So that's an area in the policy world that people are really keeping an eye on as development projects move forward. And, people in the local community do not want to be the last to know. Right. So just using those couple of policy examples, right, from my personal experience and kind of the things there. We hope in those other areas, right, it'll be connected in that way that'll be a really dynamic and useful resource. And what was mentioned earlier, what we're doing right now as we're gathering the information that we're going to include is we also have a survey, and that link will be put in there. And we'd really appreciate if you would answer the survey. You'll notice the survey is not about the content because we have a lot of information about the content, although you're welcome to share that. All these resources, I was able to attend a Sea Grant meeting and wish I could attend more because it's so exciting what you're all doing. But all these resources we're finding, right, we want to include, but the survey is more about how we can present this information to you in the most useful and user-friendly format. So if you would be willing to take that, let us know what you think about that, and certainly are welcome to follow up if you have any more questions or ideas for sure. But again, we think that like given the times we're in right now and so much uncertainty about policy and sort of priorities and agendas changing, we hope we can create a resource that you can trust and feel is really reliable, because, you know, once it's live, it'll be continually updated, and people have access to including information in it. So I better stop there. I think we've probably gone over our time, but certainly welcome to answer any questions, and then just thank you again so much. Yes, I will put the survey link in the chat.
Yes.
Lastly, I don't know, I'm saying something when I said I was cutting myself off. Sorry about that. But I was going to say, folks will be at the local catch summit that's coming up. I don't know if any folks from Alaska, because I kind of wasn't that involved, will be attending that. But if you will be there, I know some folks will be there, and that would be I'm sure would love to meet you, connect with you, that kind of thing.
Yes, thank you so much. And also thinking about the really incredible work that is going on, I think it was Jessica. This is only food focused, that we're focused exclusively on food for this.
Thanks so much for sharing that work. And we do have plenty of time for questions if anyone has a question. All right, I don't see any hands. I'll just make a couple quick AMA updates and then give everyone part of their lunch hour back. We're gonna have a sort of extra webinar, not on a regular schedule. I'll drop the link in the chat. Bobby Hudson from the Pacific Shellfish Institute is gonna do a presentation on the US oyster market outlook. That'll be on November 5th at our regular 12 noon time. So that's a Wednesday, not a Thursday, not our normal schedule, but we thought we'd give her that opportunity because we've heard a lot of interest in oyster marketing. So everyone's welcome to join us for that. And then if you didn't see it, AMA is trying to get out a monthly newsletter now. Just sharing again some of those resources and opportunities in the mariculture world. And I'm going to put the link to our latest newsletter and our sign up link in the chat as well. I think if no one else has any last minute comments or questions, we can probably all go back to lunch. And thanks everyone for joining. I know this is a very busy week in the mariculture world.
Can I do a little spruce root update?
Absolutely. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks. Sorry I joined late today. We're just having a little turnover at Spruce Root. My colleagues Ashley Snooks and Elena Peterson are going to be heading up our technical assistance. Tomorrow's my last day at Spruce Root. And then we are up and running with processing loans with the RLF Collateral Support Program. We have a couple loans in the pipeline right now, so please send folks to us. Best way to get folks in that pipeline is go to our website, and there's a button in the upper right-hand corner. So we're excited about that, and it's just been really fun for me to be part of this. You guys are doing great work. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for sharing. We'll miss you, but thanks for all you've done so far for business support. And yeah, folks should continue to reach out to Spruce Root for those services. Sorry, I'm trying to read Garen's question in the chat.
Yeah, if anybody has thoughts on that, like with so much happening and so many resources, trying to understand how closely some of these other resources align with the values that will guide this one. And some people have more familiarity with some of those. And so just, yeah, I was curious like how people think about that, if anybody's willing to share. And so I just put my email in there. Thank you.
Awesome, thanks. And I'm gonna we're gonna start sending out summaries of these roundtables just so that folks who can't join have both the recording and mostly just a roundup of the links. So I will kind of get those all put together and send it. I know you're all here, so you don't need it as much, but if you know people that weren't here that might be interested, that's something you can forward on to them, and I'll be sure to send out. And with that, thanks everyone so much for your time today, and I hope you have a great rest of the week.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.